Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a look at the presidential debate between Trump and Joe Biden.
Good evening from the Health Education campus of Case Western Reserve University and the campus of Case Western Reserve. I'm Chris Wallace of Fox News, and I welcome you to the first of the 2020 presidential debates between President Donald J. Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden. This debate is sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates. The Commission has designed the format, 6 roughly 15-minute segments, with 2-minute answers from each candidate to the first question, then open discussion for the rest of each segment. Both campaigns have agreed to these rules. For the record, I decided the topics and the questions in each topic. I can assure you, none of the questions has been shared with the Commission or the two candidates.
He can assure
This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic, which is serving as the health security advisor to the Commission for all 4 debates. As a precaution, both campaigns have agreed the candidates will not shake hands at the beginning of tonight's debate.
They hate each other's good.
The audience here in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no boos or other interruptions, so we, and more importantly you, can focus on what the candidates have to say.
No censorship.
No noise except right now, as we welcome the Republican nominee, President Trump, and the Democratic nominee, Vice President Biden.
Schizophrenia versus Orange Man. Ladies and gentlemen, the best MMA entertainment.
Gentlemen, a lot of people have been waiting for this night, so let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court. President Trump, you nominated Amy Coney Barrett over the weekend to succeed the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg on the court. You say the Constitution is clear about your obligation and the Senate's to consider a nominee to the court. Vice President Biden, you say that this is an effort by the president and Republicans to jam through an appointment and what you call an abuse of power. My first question to both of you tonight, why are you right in the argument you make and your opponent wrong? And where do you think a Justice Barrett would take the court? President Trump, in this first segment, you go first, 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chris. I will tell you very simply, we won the election. Elections have consequences. We have the Senate, we have the White House, and we have a phenomenal nominee, respected by all, top academic, good in every way,
Unbelievable.
In fact, some of her biggest endorsers are very liberal people from Notre Dame and other places. So I think she's going to be fantastic. We have plenty of time, even if we did it after the election itself. I have a lot of time after the election, as you know. So I think that she will be outstanding. She's going to be
terrific,
as good as anybody that has served on that court. We really feel that. We have a professor at Notre Dame, highly respected by all, said she's the single greatest student he's ever had. He's been a professor for a long time at a great school. And we won the election, and therefore we have the right to choose her. And very few people knowingly would say otherwise. And by the way, the Democrats, they wouldn't even think about not doing it. If they had, the only difference is they'd try and do it faster. There's no way they would give it up.
That's true.
They had Merrick Garland, but the problem is they didn't have the election, so they were stopped. And probably that would happen in reverse also. Definitely would happen in reverse. So we won the election, and we have the right to do it, Chris.
President Trump, thank you. Same question to you, Vice President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
I love it, ladies. It's just amazing. Unbelievable.
Well, first of all, thank you for doing this and looking forward to this, Mr. President.
Thank you,
Schizophrenia.
The American people have a right to have a say in who the Supreme Court nominee is. And that say occurs when they vote for a United States senators and when they vote for the President of the United States. They're not going to get that chance now because we're in the middle of an election already. Election has already started. Tens of thousands of people have already voted. And so the thing that should happen is we should wait. We should wait and see what the outcome of this election is. Because that's the only way the American people get to express their view is by who they elect as president and who they elect as vice president.
I'm getting a headache. This is a window into a mess.
What's at stake here is the president's made it clear he wants to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
You see, now you're going off
He's
topic.
been running on that, he ran on that, and he's been governing on that. He's in the Supreme Court right now trying to get rid of the Affordable Care Act.
Just confusing, my friend. All right, ladies, let's get back into it.
Which will strip 20 million people from having insurance, health insurance now, if it goes into court. And the justice, and I have nothing, I'm not opposed to the justice, she seems like a very fine person.
Oh, okay, good.
But she's written before she went on the bench, which is her right, that she thinks that the Affordable Care Act is not constitutional. The other thing is on the court, and if it's struck down, what happens? Women's rights are fundamentally changed. Once again,
hyperbolation.
A woman could be held pay more money because she has a pre-existing condition of pregnancy. They were able to charge a woman more for the same exact procedure a man gets. And that ended when we, in fact, passed the Affordable Care Act. And there's 100 million people who have pre-existing conditions, and they'll be taken away as well. Those pre-existing conditions, the insurance companies are going to love this. And so it's just not appropriate to do this before this election. If he wins the election and the Senate is Democrat or Republican, then he goes forward. If not, we should wait until February.
All right. There aren't 100 million people with pre-existing conditions. As far as a say is concerned, the people already had their say. Justice Ginsburg said very powerfully, very strongly, at some point, 10 years ago or so, she said a president and the Senate is elected for a period of time, but a president's elected for 4 years. We're not elected for 3 years. I'm not elected for 3 years. So we have the Senate, we have a president.
He's elected to the next
during
election.
that period of time, we have an opening. I'm not elected for 3 years. I'm elected for 4 years. And the 100 million people, Joe, the 100 million people is totally wrong. I don't know where you got that number. The bigger problem that you have is that you're going to extinguish 180 million people with their private health care that they're very
That's
happy
simply
with.
not true.
Well, you're simply going to socialist. You're going to socialist.
We're now into, gentlemen, we're now into open discussion.
Open discussion.
Open discussion. Yes, I agree. Go ahead, Vice President.
Number one, he knows that what I proposed. What I proposed is that we expand Obamacare, and we increase it. We do not wipe any. And one of the big debates we had with 23 of my colleagues trying to win the nomination that I won were saying that Biden wanted to allow people to have private insurance still. They can. They do. They will under my proposal.
It's not what you've said, and it's not what your party has said.
That is simply
your party
a lie.
doesn't say it. Your party wants to go socialist medicine.
My party is
and
me.
socialist
right
healthcare.
now. I am,
and
the
they're going to
Democratic
dominate
Party.
you, Joe. You know that.
I am the Democratic Party right now. The
forth.
platform of the
Not according
Democratic
to
Party
Harris.
is what I, in fact, approved of. What I approved of. Now, here's the deal. The deal is that it's going to wipe out pre-existing conditions. And by the way, the 200,000 people that have died on his watch, how many of those have survived? Well, there's 7 million people that contracted COVID.
He likes to
What
say
does it
big
mean for
numbers.
them going forward if you strike down the Affordable Care Act?
Joe, you've had 308,000 military people dying because you couldn't provide them proper health care in the military. So don't tell me
I'm
about
happy
this.
to talk about
And
this.
if you were here,
Look,
it
here's
wouldn't
the
be
deal.
200, it would be 2 million people because you were very late on the draw. You
Late
didn't
on
want
the
me to
draw.
ban China, which was heavily infected. You didn't want me to ban
All right, gentlemen,
Europe, which was heavily
Mr. President,
You would have been
Mr.
much
President,
later, Joe.
Mr. President,
much later.
Mr.
We're talking
President,
about 2 million people.
You're not gonna
President, as
shut
a
him up.
moderator, we are going to talk about COVID in the next segment, but go ahead.
Let me finish. The point is that the president also is opposed to Roe v. Wade. That's on the ballot as well in the court. And so that's also at stake right now. And so the election is all
You don't know it's on the ballot. Why is it on the ballot?
Because
Why is it
you
on the
said
ballot? It's not on the ballot.
It's on the ballot in the
I
court.
don't think so.
In the court. Well,
There's nothing happening there.
Donald, would you
And
just
you don't
be quiet
know
for a
her view on Roe v. Wade.
I don't know.
her view.
Well, all right. Let's talk.
The moderator comes in to pull Sleepy Joe out of the bag. Oh, that was good. Joe starts BSing. Donald Trump's like, I don't even know her position. What are you talking about? Joe's like, like, all right. Let's move on.
We got a lot to unpack here, gentlemen. We got a lot of time, so. On health care, and then we'll come back to Roe v. Wade.
All right.
Mr. President, the Supreme Court will hear a case a week after the election in which the Trump administration, along with 18 state attorneys general, are seeking to overturn Obamacare, to end Obamacare. You have spent the last...
Because they want to give good health care.
If I may ask my question, sir.
Good health care.
Over the last 4 years, you have promised to repeal and replace Obamacare, but you have never in these 4 years come up with a plan, a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare.
Of course I have.
Well,
I got rid of the individual mandate.
I'm going to give you an opportunity.
I got rid of the individual mandate, which was a big chunk of
Obamacare.
That is absolutely a big thing. That was the worst part of Obamacare.
Sir,
Chris, that was the worst part of Obama.
Let me ask my question.
Well, I'll ask Joe. The individual mandate was the most unpopular aspect of Obamacare. I got rid of it.
I'd like
and we will protect people.
President, I'm the moderator of this debate, and I would like you to let me ask my question, and then you can answer your question. You, in the course of these 4 years, have never come up with a comprehensive plan to replace Obamacare, and just this last Thursday, you signed a largely symbolic executive order to protect people with pre-existing conditions 5 days before this debate. So my question, sir, is what is the Trump health care plan?
Well, first of all, I guess I'm debating you, not him, but that's okay. I'm not surprised. Let me just tell you something. There's nothing symbolic. I'm cutting drug prices. I'm going with favored nations, which no president has the courage to do because you're going against Big Pharma. Drug prices will be coming down 80 or 90%. You could have done it during your 47-year period in government, but you didn't do it. Nobody's done it. So we're cutting health care. All of the things that we've done, insulin. I'll give you an example. Insulin. It was destroying families, destroying people because I'm getting it for so cheap. It's like water, you want to know the truth. So cheap. Take a look at all of the drugs what we're doing, prescription drug prices. We're going to allow our governors now to go to other countries to buy drugs because they pay just a tiny fraction.
If I say this is open discussion,
no, but this is big stuff.
Sir, you'll be happy. I'm about to pick up on one of your points to ask the vice president, which is he points out that you would like to add a public option to Obamacare, and the argument that he makes and other Republicans make is that that is going to end private insurance.
It is.
Well, if I ask you the question, it will end.
What your party says, by the way.
It will end private insurance and create a government takeover of health care.
It does not. It's only for those people who are so poor they qualify for Medicaid. They can get that free in most states, except governors who want to deny people who are poor Medicaid. Anyone who qualifies for Medicare Medicaid would automatically be enrolled in the public option. The vast majority of the American people would still not be in that option. Number one.
Joe, you agreed with Bernie Sanders, who's far left, on the manifesto, we call it. And that gives you socialized medicine.
Look, hey, I'm not going to listen to him. The fact of the matter is, I beat Bernie Sanders.
Not by much.
I beat him a whole hell of a lot. I'm here standing facing you,
Pocahontas would have left 2 days early. You would have lost every primary.
All he knows how to do is
Super Tuesday. You got very lucky.
Here's the deal. I got very lucky. I'm going to get very lucky tonight as well. And tonight I'm going to make...
You see, Trump is controlling the narrative. I got lucky. He's answering all of Trump's questions. That means Trump's hitting him right where it hurts. This guy doesn't know what's going on. He thinks he's trying to control the situation. He can't help it but answer Trump. This is amazing.
Sure, because here's the deal. The fact is that everything he's saying so far is simply a lie.
Here's the deal. Couple $1 billion in Ukraine. That's the deal.
I'm not here to call out his lies. Everybody knows he's a liar.
But you
I just
agree.
want to make sure.
Joe, you're the liar.
I want to make sure.
Look at them both go. You're the liar. No, you're the liar. Nigga, both of you lie sometimes. Just get over it. Yalla, let's go.
You ordered last in your class, not first in your class.
I want to make
Mr.
sure.
President, can you let him finish, sir?
No, he doesn't know how to do that. He has,
You'd be surprised.
you pick
Joe, you're good.
the wrong guy, the wrong night at the wrong time.
Listen, you agreed with
Here's the
Bernie
deal.
Sanders to the
The
manifesto.
whole idea.
Let him.
There is no manifesto. Number
Please
one.
let him speak, Mr.
Number
President.
You
two.
just lost the left.
Number two.
You just lost the left. You agreed with Bernie Sanders on a plan.
Folks,
Absolutely.
folks, do you have any idea what this clown's
They
doing?
call it
Mr.
Do you have any do?
socialized medicine.
Mr.
Well, I'll
President.
tell you what, he is not for any help for people needing health care. Because he in fact already has cost 10 million people their health care that they had from their employers because of his recession. Number one. Number two, there are 20 million people getting health care through Obamacare now that he wants to take it away. He won't ever look you in the eye and say that's what he wants to do. Take it away.
No, I want to give them better health care at a much lower price because Obama.
Joe Biden is telling everyone what Trump's doing, which is not fair because you don't know him and you're probably lying about him. You're probably misrepresenting him. Just shut up and say what you're bringing to the table. Instead, Joe Biden's like, Trump's an idiot. He's an asshole. He's a this. He's a that. He's doing this. Shut up. And then Trump has to keep saying, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. Wrong.
He doesn't know how. He doesn't know how to do that.
I've already fixed it.
He has never offered a plan.
Fixed it to an extent.
He has never done a single thing.
As you might know, but probably don't.
Gentlemen, you realize if you're both speaking at the same time,
and it's too expensive.
Let the president. Go ahead, sir.
Obamacare is no good. We made it better, and I had a choice to make very early on. We took away the individual mandate. We guaranteed pre-existing conditions, but took away the individual mandate. Listen, this is the way it is, and that destroyed. That they shouldn't even call it Obamacare. Then I had a choice to make. Do I let my people run it really well or badly? Yeah. If I run it badly, they'll probably blame him, but they'll blame me. But more importantly, I want to help people. Okay? I said, you got to run it so well.
That's what
and I just had a meeting with them. They said the problem is no matter how well you run Obamacare, it's a disaster. It's too expensive. Premiums are too high, and it doesn't work. So we do want to get rid of it. Chris, we want to get rid of it.
I understand it, sir, but I have to give you roughly equal time.
Good.
Please let the vice president talk.
Good.
He has no plan for health care.
Of course we do.
He sends out wishful thinking. He has executive orders that have no power. He hasn't lowered drug costs for anybody. He's been promising a health care plan since he got elected. He has none, like almost everything else he talks about. He does not have a plan.
Oh, my God. You're exaggerating, Joe.
Doesn't have a plan. And the fact is, this man doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right. I have one final question for you,
sure.
Mr. Vice President. If Senate Republicans, we were talking originally about the Supreme Court here, if Senate Republicans go ahead and confirm Justice Barrett, there has been talk about ending the filibuster or even packing the court, adding to the 9 justices there. You call this a distraction by the president, but in fact, it wasn't brought up by the president. It was brought up by some of your Democratic colleagues in the Congress. So my question to you is, you have refused in the past to talk about it. Are you willing to tell the American people tonight whether or not you will support either ending the filibuster or packing the court?
Whatever position I take in that, that'll become the issue. The issue is the American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know you're a senator. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that
because
question?
The question is,
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
Who's on your list?
We have
I'm not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it? Keep yapping, man.
The people understand, Joe.
They sure
47 years you've done nothing. They understand.
All right. The second subject is COVID-19, which is an awfully serious subject. So
Yeah, right.
let's try to be serious about it. We have had more than 7 million cases of coronavirus in the United States, and more than 200,000 people have died. Even after we produce a vaccine, experts say that it could be months or even years before we come back to anything approaching normal. My question for both of you is, based on what you have said and done so far, and what you have said you would do starting in 2021, why should the American people trust you more than your opponent to deal with this public health crisis going forward? In this case, the question goes to you first, sir. 2 minutes uninterrupted.
Good luck. 200,000 dead. As you said, over 7 million infected in the United States. We, in fact, have 5%, 4% of the world's population, 20% of the deaths. 40,000 people a day are contracting COVID. In addition to that, about between 750 and 1,000 people a day are dying. When he was presented with that number, he said, it is what it is. Well, it is what it is because you are who you are. That's why it is. The president has no plan. He hasn't laid out anything. He knew all the way back in February how serious this crisis was. He knew it was a deadly disease. What did he do? He's on tape as acknowledging he knew it. He said he didn't tell us or give people a warning of it because he didn't want to panic the American people.
Oh, my God.
You don't panic. He panicked. In addition to that, what did he do? He went in and we were insisting that the Chinese, the people we had on the ground in China should be able to go to Wuhan and determine for themselves how dangerous this was. He did not even ask Xi to do that. He told us what a great job Xi was doing. He said we owe him a debt of gratitude for being so transparent with us. And what did he do then? He then did nothing. He waited and waited and waited. He still doesn't have a plan.
Wrong.
I laid out back in March exactly what we should be doing.
So wrong.
And I laid out again in July what we should be doing. We should be providing all the protective gear possible. We should be providing the money the House has passed in order to be able to go out and get people the help they need to keep their businesses open schools that cost a lot of money. You should get out of your bunker and get out of the sand trap and get in your golf course and go in the Oval Office and bring together the Democrats and Republicans and fund what needs to be done now to save lives.
Fund, right.
So if we would have listened to you,
you have 2 minutes, sir.
Money.
if we would have listened to you, the country would have been left wide open. Millions of people would have died, not 200,000. And one person is too much. It's China's fault. It should have never happened.
China.
They stopped it from going in, but it was China's fault. And by the way, when you talk about numbers, you don't know how many people died in China. You don't know how many people died in Russia. You don't know how many people died in India. They don't exactly give you a straight count, just so you understand. But if you look at what we've done, I closed it, and you said he's xenophobic. He's a racist, and he's xenophobic. Because you didn't think I should have closed our country. Wait a minute.
It says 2 minutes.
You didn't think we should have closed our country because you thought it was terrible. You wouldn't have closed it for another 2 months. By my doing it early, in fact, Dr. Fauci said, President Trump saved thousands of lives. Many of you Democrat governors said, President Trump did a phenomenal job. We worked with the governor. Oh, really? Go take a look. The governors said I did a phenomenal job. Most of them said that. In fact, people that would not be necessarily on my side said that. President Trump did a phenomenal job. We did. We got the gowns. We got the masks. We made the ventilators. You wouldn't have made ventilators. And now we're weeks away from a vaccine. We're doing therapeutics already. Fewer people are dying when they get sick. Far fewer people are dying. We've done a great job. The only thing I haven't done a good job, and that's because of the fake news. No matter what you say to them, they give you bad press on it. It's just fake news. They give you good press. They give me bad press.
True that. Because that's the way it is, unfortunately. But let me just tell you something. I don't care. I've gotten used to it.
But I'll tell you, Joe, you could never have done the job that we did. You don't have it in your blood. You could have never done that job.
You don't have the
I know
stamina.
how to do the job.
Stamina.
I know how to get the job
Well, you
done.
didn't do very well in swine flu. H1N1, you were a disaster. Your own chief of staff said you were a disaster.
14,000 people died, not 200,000. There was no economic recession.
Sir, you made a
There
was no recession.
You made a point. Let him
Excuse
answer.
me.
There's
Trump
no
is like,
one.
excuse
There's no.
me.
We didn't shut down the economy. This is his economy that's being. He shut down. The reason it's shut down is because look, you folks at home. How many of you got up this morning and had an empty chair at the kitchen table because someone died of
Not
COVID?
too many.
How many of you were in a situation where you lost your mom or dad and you couldn't even speak to them? You had a nurse holding a phone
Not
up
too many.
so you could, in fact, say goodbye.
You would have lost far
How
more
many
people. Far
That is-
more people.
Trump's
And
You would have been.
And by the
down
way,
the drain.
your own,
You were
his
months behind
own
me,
his
Joe.
own CDC director says we could lose as many as another 200,000 people between now and the end of the year. And he held up. He said, if we just wear a mask, we can save half those numbers. Just a mask.
Just a mask.
And by the way, in terms of the whole notion of a vaccine. We're for a vaccine, but I don't trust him at all, nor do you. I know you don't. What we trust is a scientist.
You don't
we
trust
Dr.
Johnson
Fauci.
Johnson, Pfizer?
And
Okay,
by the way,
gentlemen,
and then,
let me move on to questions about the future because you both have touched on two of the questions I'm going to ask. Focusing on the future first, President Trump, you have repeatedly either contradicted or been at odds with some of your government's own top scientists. The week before last, the head of the Centers for Disease Control, Dr. Redfield, said it would be summer before the vaccine would become generally available to the public. You said that he was confused and mistaken. Those were your two words.
Yeah.
But Dr. Slaoui, the head of your Operation Warp Speed, has said exactly the same thing. Are they both wrong?
Well, I've spoken to the companies and we can have it a lot sooner. It's a very political thing because people like this would
To be honest, my opinion is that the whole vaccination situation is BS. Nobody should take the vaccine unless you feel different or weird. I don't recommend the vaccine whatsoever. It's very possible that that vaccine is shady as heck. Okay, hopefully they're gonna, whether Trump or Biden gets in, they're gonna make so many tests to make sure that the vaccine is safe that it never hits the market, not this year, not next year, and they're just gonna open the lockdown because people are just gonna stop dying. Hopefully, obviously nobody should get tested either because the tests are unreliable. This is just my opinion. But I feel bad for Trump because he has to play along. Because if he says he doesn't care, then there are some cases of COVID, so they're gonna say, "Oh, you don't care about people dying." And if he says that he does care, then this is really like slipping on the politics. Obviously, COVID does exist, so does heart attacks, and so does other things. The whole lockdown situation and the whole way that they're going about it, and is just a little bit off the wall. But yeah, that's just my opinion.
rather make it political than save lives. It is a very political thing. I've spoken to Pfizer. I've spoken to all of the people that you have to speak to. We have great Moderna, Johnson and Johnson, and others. They can go faster than that by a lot. Become very political because
All right, let's keep going.
the left, or I don't know if I call them
you're
left. I don't know
suggesting
what I
that
call
the
them.
head of your Operation Warp Speed, Dr.
I
Slaoui,
disagree with him. Yeah, no, I disagree with both of them. And he didn't say that. He said it could be there, but it could also be much sooner. I had him in my office 2 days ago.
he talked about the summer, sir, before it's generally available. Just
As
like
we said,
Dr.
it's a
Redfield.
possibility that we'll have the answer before November 1st. It could also
I'm
be
talking about
after
when it's
that.
generally available. not when
Well,
it'll
we're
be.
going to deliver it right away. We have the military all set up. Logistically, they're all set up. We have our military that delivers soldiers, and they can do 200,000 a day. They're going.
You shouldn't be saying that, Trump, because that's probably classified information. But okay.
Going to be
this is
delivering
the same man
It's
who
all
told
set
you
up.
by Easter this would be gone away. By the warm weather, it'd be gone. Miraculous.
Okay, people, Joe is now going to hold Trump against predicting something. Bro, everybody said everything, okay? And what did you say? You know what I mean? It's like, oh, he said it's going to be gone by the summer. Yeah, based on the guy who came into the White House press conference and said that the sun kills the virus. So yeah, and also it's probably BS anyway. All the statistics and the positives and the negatives. I mean, there's a lot of fake statistics about the whole thing. So I don't know. I mean, if you go to the doctor today and you have diarrhea, they're going to say it's a symptom of COVID. It's just insane. They say if you have fever, it's a symptom of COVID. If you have a cough, it's a symptom of COVID. If you have diarrhea, it's definitely a symptom of COVID. If you're a Democrat, it's probably a symptom of COVID. If your brain's too small, it's probably a symptom of COVID. You should definitely get checked. And then you get checked with these shady. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, the older generation maybe is more susceptible, but just be healthy, man. That's all. Just be healthy. People now they're like, God, they die, they come to heaven, and they're like, God, I'm not here because of COVID. I'm not here because of my sins. I'm here because of COVID. They're already telling God why they died. This is just kind of like this whole COVID thing is a trend of the irresponsibility of the whole generation. The whole generation is irresponsible. So now you could always blame anything you do on COVID. Even the cops can blame beating people up on COVID, giving them tickets on COVID. People can blame COVID for tattletaling on their neighbors and being criminals. This is almost like balancing out the free will of the world, so that good and evil still is an option that you have to choose between, and you can get rewarded for doing good and punished for doing evil. Because if the only reason you're doing good and evil is because um, you feel that good is the only option, then you're not going to get rewarded for doing good. As long as there's balance in the world, there's free choice, you can get spiritually rewarded. That's just my opinion. Anyway, let's move on.
It's like a miracle. And by the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
That was said sarcastically. That was said sarcastically.
And so here's the deal. This man is talking about a vaccine. Every serious company is talking about maybe having a vaccine done by the end of the year. But the distribution of that vaccine will not occur until sometime beginning or the middle of next year.
So 1 second you're accusing Trump of predicting things, and now you're going on and predicting more things?
Get it out if we get the vaccine. And pray God we will. Pray God we will.
Mr. Vice President, I want to pick up
You'll have the vaccine soon.
I want to pick up on this question, though. You say the public can trust the scientists, but they can't trust President Trump. In fact, you said that again tonight. Your running mate, Senator Harris, goes further, saying the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed. Given the fact that polls already show that people are concerned about the vaccine and are reluctant to take it, are you and your running mate, Senator Harris, contributing to that fear?
No more than the question you just asked him. You pointed out. He puts pressure and disagrees with his own scientists.
But you're saying
everybody
you can't,
knows.
or Senator Harris is saying you can't trust the scientists.
No, no.
Okay, everybody knows you can't trust the scientists. Bill Gates is just trying to knock up a good deal. He sold everybody computers, and he made a lot of money off of it. Now he wants to sell everyone a vaccine, and he wants to make a lot of money out of it. His father is a lawyer, so he taught him that instead of trying to convince people to buy the vaccine, you just have to convince the government and make it a law and force people to get the vaccine. And that's the big plan. Bill Gates is investing billions and trillions of dollars in companies like the fake news in order to push the vaccine and pretend it's actually a thing and it's actually necessary. And even if you don't like it, we're going to make it law. And that's how they want to push it. And this is a whole scam. The whole vaccine thing is a scam. They're talking about it as if it's a real thing. This is what's funny. Oh, are you the one who's making people think that the scientists are messed up? Or are you the one who's making... Listen, it's messed up. And let's just hope that Trump stands by his word and makes sure that it's not mandatory. Whoever wants it should take it, and whoever doesn't want it should throw it in the garbage. That's the main thing.
You can't trust the scientists. She didn't say that. You can't trust.
She said the public health experts, quote, will be muzzled, will be suppressed.
Well,
the real scientists and the real doctors are already being suppressed. You can't go to the doctor and ask him what his opinion about coronavirus is, because most of the doctors don't believe in this whole thing. Most doctors don't believe in this whole thing. I went to my doctor. I spoke to doctors, my friends. They all say this whole thing is exaggerated. He's talking about muzzling doctors. Go try write something normal about COVID on the internet. See how that goes for you.
That's what he's going to try to do. But there's millions of scientists, there's thousands of scientists out there, like here at this great hospital.
There's millions. There's thousands. You see, Biden's very bad at numbers.
That don't work for him. Their job doesn't depend on him. That's not. They're the people. And by the way,
spoke to the scientists that are in charge. By the way, they will have the vaccine very soon.
Do you believe for a moment what he's telling you in light of all the lies he's told you about the whole issue relating to COVID? He still hasn't even acknowledged that he knew this was happening, knew how dangerous it was going to be back in February, and he didn't even tell you. He's on record as saying it. He panicked or he just looked at the stock market. One of the two, because guess what? A lot of...
You see, Joe Biden sounds like he's reading off a script, or he has an earpiece inside. So this whole thing, you see, he's starting to talk like he's literally reading off a script, or someone's telling him what to say. He's focused on the audience. He's not even paying attention to Trump. And he's not answering in a casual, natural way. So this whole thing looks completely BS, to be honest.
People died, and a lot more are going to die unless he gets a lot smarter, a lot quicker.
Mr. President?
Did you use the word smart? So you said you went to Delaware State, but you forgot the name of your college. You didn't go to Delaware State. You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Joe. 47 years you've done nothing.
Let's have this debate.
You would have had, let me just tell you something, Joe. No, if you would have had the charge of what I was put through, I had to close the greatest economy in the history of our country. And by the way, now it's being built again.
See, we're going to get to the economy in the next segment, sir.
Okay.
It's going up.
Amazing.
Fast.
Okay. When it comes to how the virus has been handled so far, the two of you have taken very different approaches, and this is going to affect how the virus is handled going forward by whichever of you ends up becoming the next president. I want to quickly go through several of those. Reopenings. Vice President Biden, you have been much more reluctant than President Trump about reopening the economy and schools. Why, sir?
Because he doesn't have a plan. If I were running, I'd know what the plan is. You've got to provide these businesses the ability to have the money to be able to reopen with the PPE as well as with
the money to reopen. So you don't want to open them, you just want to give them a bunch of money. Basically push socialism. Just let them open.
The sanitation they need. You have to provide them plastic.
Nancy Pelosi.
Well, he's just shush for a minute.
Tell it to Nancy Pelosi and Schumer.
It's also true that Trump is a little bit unhinged, to say the least, and he has no regard for the rules. But listen, politics is a dirty business. There's no question about it that you have to be what Trump is in this situation. Joe Biden pretending to be all, polite. That's probably one of the talking points, or one of the, what his coach told him. Every time Trump talks out of line, just ridicule him for being rude and that, because there's not a lot of substance going on with Mr. Joe, obviously.
Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, they have a plan. He won't even meet with them. The Republicans won't meet with him in the Senate. And he sits on his golf course. And, literally, think about it.
You probably play more than I do, Joe.
What about this question of reopenings and the fact...
Well, he wants to shut down this country.
That is a good one. Well, you guys want to know the difference between me and him? I want to keep this country open. This guy wants to shut it down. Look at Joe, half smirking, half smiling, looking down. He's dead. He's dead in his shoes.
And I want to keep it open. And we did a great thing by shutting it down. Wait a minute, Joe. Let me shut you down for a second, Joe, just for 1 second.
Ouch.
He wants to shut down the country. We just went through it. We had to, because we didn't know anything about the disease. Now we found that elderly people with heart problems and diabetes and different problems are very, very vulnerable.
Yeah, man.
We learned a lot. Young children aren't. Even younger people aren't. We've learned a lot. But he wants to shut it down. More people will be hurt by continuing. If you look at Pennsylvania, if you look at certain states that have been shut down, they have Democrat governors all. One of the reasons they're shut down is because they want to keep it shut down until after the election on November 3rd.
I want to move on to another subject.
It's a political But those states are not doing well that are shut down.
President Trump, you have...
Look how the moderator flips out when he hears what Trump just said. Trump said the Democrats want to keep the shutdown going till after the election so that everyone has a bad stomach and they think that the only solution is that it's all Trump's fault. But really what you don't understand is that the tactic is to make Trump look bad. And that's also very, very true. And the moderator jumps when Trump says that. And that just shows you that the fake news is a little shady. Joe Biden is so creepy, and he's talking to the creepy Joe.
Very strongly.
More than a minute left in this
masks
segment.
Are not good. Then he changed his mind. He said masks. I'm okay with masks.
I want to ask you both about one last subject.
Good, because the reporters always pretend to be all technical and politically correct, so Trump just shoves it back in their face because he's done with the reporters. He hates the way they twist reality and they pretend that, you know, all these little things are important. So Trump just says, you know what, at least let me hold it to them and make them abide by their own made up rules. I think that that's actually pretty nice, and thank you for telling us what happened, Joe.
Those other people. That's what he said. I'm going to be okay. He's not worried about you. He's not worried about the people out there breathing in one another.
We've had no negative effect.
No negative effect.
We've had no negative effect. And we've had 35,000, 40,000 people at these rallies.
Just quickly finish up because I want to move on to our next.
Yes, I would. He's been totally irresponsible the way in which he has handled the social distancing and people wearing masks, basically encourage them not to.
All right.
Ben, he's a fool on this.
If you could get the crowds, you would have done the same thing. But you can't. Nobody cares.
Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy? Gentlemen, can we move on to the economy?
Ownage. Trump is owning Biden on these things. No one cares about you. I get 35,000 people in the box, and you can't get 3 people in your little rallies. Everyone's scared to come to your rally because you're so creepy. Probably go hug them during your speech. Social distancing, man. If anybody needs to social distance, it's from Joe Biden. Creepy.
Yes.
The economy is, I think it's fair to say, recovering faster than expected from the shutdown.
Much faster.
In the second quarter, the unemployment rate fell to 8.4% last month. The Federal Reserve says the hit to growth, which is going to be there, is not going to be nearly as big as they had expected. President Trump, you say we are in a V-shaped recovery. Vice President Biden, you say it's more of a K-shape. What difference does that mean to the American people in terms of the economy? President Trump, in this segment, you go first.
So we built the greatest economy in history. We closed it down because of the China plague. When the plague came in, we closed it down, which was very hard psychologically to do. He didn't think we should close it down, and he was wrong. And again, 2 million people would be dead now instead of still 204,000 people is too much. One person is too much. Should have never happened from China. But what happened is we closed it down, and now we're reopening, and we're doing record business. We had 10.
Okay, Joe, what are you trying to do? You're trying to tell us that by raising taxes in these turmoil times of COVID, somehow that's going to be good? Are you out of your mind? You're basically asking us to tell you that taxation is theft is a good thing? You're basically are you trying to make a case that the government should steal our money? Is that what you're trying to do, Joe? Because I don't care how you sell it to me. I'd like to be in charge of how I spend my money. And here on my desk, I have a charity box. And I give charity all the time, regardless of all the tax. And I try to help the community as much as possible, delivering food to families that need and everything, and being a volunteer in the community. And you think that we don't know how to distribute wealth to those who need? You think that we need the government to take more of our money? Most people are very, very broke right now. They cannot afford an emergency. So I don't care what you say, almost. I'm going to listen because you have to be fair with the person. But it's very hard for me to think of something that Joe Biden's going to tell me that's going to convince me that him taking our money from taxes is a good thing. So with this stuff, when it comes to higher taxes, I'm actually against Joe Biden, against the Democrats, against the socialists, and with Trump.
To make sure that every penny of that has to be made by a company.
But respectfully, sir, I'm talking about taxes, not spending.
By the way, I'm going to eliminate a significant number of the tax. I'm going to make the corporate tax 28%. It shouldn't be 21%. You have 91 companies, in the Fortune 500, who don't pay a single penny in tax, making billions of dollars.
Why didn't you do it before when you were vice president with Obama?
Because you, in fact, passed that. That was your tax proposal.
I got it done. And you know what happened?
Yeah, you got it done.
Our economy boomed like it's never boomed.
The economy is busted.
Mr. President, Mr. President, let me pick up on that. You would continue your free market approach, lower taxes or deregulation.
Hell yeah.
Not lower taxes for American people.
But in Obama's, you talk about the economy booming, it turns out that in Obama's final 3 years as president, more jobs were created, 1.5 million more jobs than in the first 3 years of your presidency.
They had the slowest recovery since economic recovery since 1929. It was the slowest recovery. Also, they took over something that was down here. All you had to do is turn on the lights and you pick up a lot. But they had the slowest economic recovery since 1929. Let me tell you about the stock market. When the stock market goes up, that means jobs. It also means 401ks. If you got in, if you ever became president with your ideas, you want to terminate my taxes, I'll tell you what, you'll lose half of the companies that are poured in here will leave, and plenty of companies that are already here, they'll leave for other places. They will leave, and you will have a depression, the likes of which you've never seen.
Look, we inherited the worst recession short of a depression in American history. I was asked to bring it back. We were able to have an economic recovery that created the jobs you're talking about. We handed him a booming economy. He blew it.
It wasn't booming.
He blew it.
It wasn't booming. It was the weakest recovery since 1929.
Is it fair to say he blew it when there was record low unemployment before COVID?
Yeah, because what he did, even before COVID, manufacturing went in the hole.
What?
Manufacturing went in the hole.
Excuse me, Chris. Wait.
Number two.
Chris,
number three.
They said it would take. No, you're on number two.
No.
Chris, they said it would take a miracle to bring back manufacturing. I brought back 700,000 jobs. They brought back nothing. They gave up on manufacturing.
Trump is killing it.
I'm the guy that brought back the
I'm the guy.
All right, let him
The guy who brought a black man.
I was asked to bring back Chrysler and General Motors. We brought them back right here in the state of Ohio and Michigan. He blew it. They're gone. He blew it. And in fact, they're going.
Ohio had the best year it's ever had last year. Michigan had the best year they've ever had.
That is not
Many
true.
car companies came in from Germany, from Japan.
Everyone
went to
knows that
Michigan
Trump did a
and
good
Ohio.
job.
And they didn't come in
even trying to sell.
And so you take a look at what he's actually done. He's done very little. His trade deals are the same way. He talks about these great trade deals. You know, he talks about the art of the deal. China's perfected the art of the steal. We have a higher deficit with China now than we did before. We have the higgest trade deficit with Mexico.
China ate your lunch, down 18%. China ate your lunch, Joe. And no wonder your son goes in and he takes out billions of dollars. Takes out billions of dollars to manage. He makes millions of dollars. And also, while we're at it, why is it, just out of curiosity, the mayor of Moscow's wife gave your son $3.5 million. What did he do to deserve it? What did he do with to deserve $183,000?
We're going to spoon feed you this debate.
Really?
Mr. President, please.
Donald Trump is throwing up in Joe Biden's mouth.
And by the way,
well, wait, he didn't get $3.5 million.
Mr.
He got $3.5 million.
It is not true.
Really?
Mr. President, it's an open discussion, please.
It's a fact.
Well,
It's a fact.
You have raised an issue. Let the President answer.
Discredit.
Pay him $183,000 a month.
Donald Trump is
With no experience in energy.
throwing up down
My
Joe
son did
Biden's
nothing
throat.
wrong.
Oh my
I
God.
think he did.
Mr. President,
guy-
let him answer.
He doesn't want to let me answer because he knows I have the truth. His position has been totally, thoroughly discredited.
By who?
And
The media?
By everybody. By the media, by our
because they refuse to
allies, by
talk
the
about it,
world.
'cause
Oh, this is so good.
Bank,
embarrassed.
by everyone has discredited. Matter of fact, even
Mr.
the
President,
people who
please stop.
testified under oath
So let me ask you this, Joe.
No, go ahead, Mr. I'm listening to you.
You got $3.5 million from Moscow.
He testified under oath in his administration, said, I did my job and I did it very well.
Oh,
I
really?
did it
I'd
honorably.
like to know who they are.
Well, I'll give you the list of the people who testified.
No, go ahead, sir.
Sure, you've already fired most of them because they did a good job.
Some people don't do a good job. With you,
go ahead. Wait a minute. You get the final word, Mr.
Well, it's hard to get any word in with this clown. Excuse me. This.
Let me just say, Joe.
No. I'm Mr. President.
$3.5 million, Joe.
That is simply
Why did he deserve $3.5 million from
did,
Moscow?
Look, here's the deal. We want to talk about families and ethics. I don't want to do that. I mean, his family we could talk about all night. His family's already...
My family lost a fortune by coming down and helping us with government.
And that's
that's also true.
Mr. President.
Every single one of them lost a
This is
fortune.
not about my family or his family. It's about your family, the American people. He doesn't, that's not true. It doesn't want to talk about what you need, you, the American people. It's about you. That's what we're talking about here.
All right, that's the end of the segment. We're moving on.
He didn't take them.
Well,
Vice President, no.
Can I be honest? It's a very important
Try to be
question.
honest.
He stood up.
No,
he stood up,
the answer to the question is no.
Ukraine.
No, sir.
With $1 billion, if you don't get rid of the press.
You know what?
Look at this.
Not true. You're doing it.
You're going to have
true.
Gentlemen.
Ladies.
I hate to raise my voice, but it seems to be, why should I be different than the two of you? So here's the deal.
Good point.
We have
good point.
6 segments. We have ended that segment. We're going to go to the next segment. In that segment, you each are going to have 2 uninterrupted moments. In those 2 uninterrupted minutes, Mr. President, you can say anything you want. I'm going to ask a question about race, but if you want to answer about something else, go ahead. But I think that the country would be better served if we allowed both people to speak with fewer interruptions. I'm appealing to you, sir, to do that.
Well, and him too.
Well, frankly, you've been doing more interrupting than he has.
That's all right, but he does plenty.
Well, less than, sir, less than you have. Let's please continue on. The issue of race. Vice President Biden, you say that President Trump's response to the violence in Charlottesville 3 years ago, when he talked about very fine people on both sides, was what directly led you to launch this run for president.
Oh, yeah, sure.
President Trump, you have often said that you believe you have done more for Black Americans than any president, with the possible exception of Abraham Lincoln. My question for the two of you is why...
You know what's funny? Everybody knows that the Democratic Party was recycling all kinds of weirdos just in order to get someone to stand against Trump. And Joe Biden being their man is almost an embarrassment. And even in the streets, people say that Joe Biden is a joke. And the only thing that drives the Democrats even more than Joe Biden being a joke is their hate for Donald Trump. So as much as they're, trying to prop Joe Biden up, it's clear as day that he's just like a puppet. And it's terrible and it's sad to see him even standing in front of Trump. It's obvious that he's not himself and he's boosted on all kinds of weird stuff in order to keep him on his 2 feet. Very similar to Hillary. And this is kind of really a joke. Trump has a little bit of depth. He might be a little crazy, but he has depth and he's serious and he cares and he has a passion and everyone can see that. Joe Biden is just sitting there like, I don't know, like he's being shoved from behind, It's just pathetic in general. That's at least my opinion. Anyway, so now this great moderator is going to ask them why they decided to run for president. Let's hear this.
Why should voters trust you rather than your opponent to deal with the race issues facing this country over the next 4 years? Vice President Biden, you go first.
It's about equity and equality. It's about decency. It's about the Constitution. And we have never walked away from trying to require equity for everyone, equality for the whole of America.
You're a racist bastard.
We've never accomplished it, but we've never walked away from it like he has done. It is true. The reason I got in the race is when those people, close your eyes. Remember what those people look like coming out of the fields carrying torches, their veins bulging.
In order to vote for Biden, you have to close your eyes. This man is definitely the blind leading the blind. This man is racist, okay? There are so many instances of him speaking smack against the black community. If you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Just research Joe Biden racist stuff on Google or on YouTube. You'll see. This man can't say a word about racism, in my opinion. This man is as racist as it gets. He hates minorities. He thinks he's privileged and white and whatever. Now, did Trump have his moments when back in the day, when he spoke negatively about other races? Probably. But has that changed? Yes. Has he done a lot for the black community? Yes. Has he done a lot for minorities? Yes. And that's why you see so many Mexican and black and Jewish and Christian and religious Trump supporters, because Trump appeals to everybody, and he does care about these people, and he does invite these people in a sincere way. Me as a Jewish person, for example, um, me seeing the Jewish people respected and the Jewish traditions respected with Trump was very, very nice, and Benjamin Netanyahu spoke very, very nice about Trump and appreciates Trump and praises him all the time, and his, the embassy in Jerusalem and all that good stuff. Whereas Obama was just terrible for Israel, and even the things that he did do for the Jewish people kind of felt like formalities, and it didn't feel like we actually had a friend in the White House, and not the Jewish people in America, and not people in Israel. So even though maybe Trump and Obama did a lot of things that are similar, it was actually in the small things that were in the details that Trump actually won. Another example is Shalom Karobashkin, which is a Jewish guy that had a factory, very big meat processing factory. He was let out of jail by Trump, and he was put in jail by Obama, and very unfairly, if I might add. The judge that put Shalom Rabashkin in jail was kind of an anti-Semite and actually went all out on him in a very disgusting way, in a way that no other factory in the United States had to suffer. So there was definitely some bias, anti-Semitic racism going over there, and Trump pardoned Shalom Rabashkin and took him out of jail. So I actually see Trump being much more sensitive uh, to minorities. And this is true because the left try to always pander to minorities, but in practice, I think the right does a great job. That's just my opinion.
Just spewing anti-Semitic bile and accompanied by the Ku Klux Klan. A young woman got killed. And they asked the president what he thought. He said there were very fine people on both sides.
Oh, that's a piece of fake news, and now
said
Joe
anything
Biden's
like
going to
that.
go with that fake
It
news.
is who's
Now,
who sir.
second point I'd make to you is that when Floyd was killed, when Mr. Floyd was killed, there was a peaceful protest in front of the White House. What did he do? He came out of his bunker, had the military use tear gas on him so he could walk across to a church and hold up a Bible. And then what happened after that? The bishop of that very church said that it was a disgrace. The general who was with him said all he ever wants to do is divide people, not unite people at all. This is a president who has used everything as a dog whistle to try to generate racist hatred, racist division. This is a man who, in fact, you talk about helping Africa.
Okay, you white privileged, I don't know, politician, Mr. Joe Biden, rich, you live in a different planet. I'm in the minority. I am a Jewish person, and I think that Trump was actually pretty fair to the Jewish people and to minorities in general. I actually think he gave us a fair shot. And I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think that the president is divided. And me as part of the minority from down here, I can say I think I appreciate the efforts of the president. I know that there's not, people look at the president as if he's God or something, and they think that he has superpowers and he can solve everybody's issues. I know that the president can't do that, but within his powers, I do think that the president has done a great job. And I don't know what you're talking about division, because he crossed the street and yeah, he needs protection. He's the president. Yeah, so he's going to clear a path to go to the church. He's going to hold up a Bible because he believes in God, and what the Pope thinks and what the whatever the church manager or the military thing, that's irrelevant. Okay, he didn't do anything These people were honking horns for like I don't know how long outside the White House. Yeah, it's pretty annoying. I want to see you endure days and days and days of honking horns outside the White House. I mean, I don't know. It just doesn't go very well. So yeah, you're gonna get the military in order to clear you a path, and show that you trust in God. And there's certain things you can't do, and they're just out of your control. So Joe just coming here and assuming that he did it because he hates people and whatnot. What do you want Trump to do? To come there and kiss some African American's shoes and apologize to him and tell him Black Lives Matter? What were you expecting?
African Americans. 1 in 1,000 African Americans has been killed because of the coronavirus. And if he does,
that has nothing to do with Trump. I don't know what you're talking about. Trump didn't kill anybody. So yeah, and you're definitely on the left, so you're probably pro Planned Parenthood and all that, which targets black communities. So if you really cared about minorities, y'all go fix that. And Trump is, pro life and trying to get the black community back in the game and try to cut down on abortions and all that good stuff. So I don't know. You don't care about minorities. The left doesn't care about minorities. Move on. Move on.
doesn't do something quickly, by the end of the year, 1 in 500 will have been killed. 1 in 500 African Americans. This man
Trump
is the
the
savior
best.
of African Americans.
Yes.
This man
And
cares
you're
for all.
pandering.
This
You're
man's
just
done
pandering. Look how
virtually
creepy
nothing.
you are staring
Look,
at the camera.
The fact is that you have to look at what he talks about. You have to look at what he did. And what he did
doing
has
great.
been disastrous for the African American community.
So,
President Trump, you have 2 minutes. Why should Americans trust you over your opponent to deal with
he
racism?
did a crime bill, 1994, where you call them super predators, African Americans, the super predators, and they've never forgotten it. They've never forgotten it, Joe.
never said
No, sir, it's his 2 minutes.
So you did that, and they call you a super predator, and I'm letting people out of jail now that you have treated the African American population community, you have treated the black community about as bad as anybody in this country.
Exactly.
You did the 1990, and that's why, if you look at the polls, I'm doing better than any Republican has
Exactly.
done in a long time, because they saw what you did. You call them super predators, and you've called them worse than that, because you look back at your testimony over the years, you've called them a lot worse than that. As far as the church is concerned, and as far as the generals are concerned, we just got the support of 250 military leaders and generals, total support. Law enforcement, almost every law enforcement
Exactly.
group in the United States. I have Florida, I have Texas, I have Ohio, I have Portland. The sheriff just came out today and he
Exactly.
said, I support President Trump. I don't think you have any law enforcement. You can't even say the word law enforcement, because if you say those words, you're going to lose all of your radical left supporters. And why are aren't you saying those words, Joe? Why don't you say the words law enforcement? Because you know what? If they called us in Portland, we would put out that fire in a half an hour, but they won't do it because they're run by radical left Democrats. If you look at Chicago, if you look at any place you want to look, Seattle, they heard we were coming in the following day and they put up their hands and we got back Seattle. Minneapolis, we got it back, Joe, because we believe in law and order, but you don't. The top 10 cities and just about the top 40 cities are run by Democrats and in many cases radical left. And they've got you wrapped around their finger, Joe, to a point where you don't want to say anything about law and order. And I'll tell you what, the people of this country want and demand law and order, and you're afraid to even say it.
All right. I want to return to the question of race. Vice President Biden, after the grand jury in the Breonna Taylor case decided not to charge any of the police with homicide, you said it raises the question, quote, whether justice could be equally applied in America. Do you believe that there is a separate but unequal system of justice for blacks in this country?
Yes, there is. There's systemic injustice in this country, in education and work.
Yeah, he should know. He's part of the
in
problem.
law enforcement and the way in which it's enforced. But look, the vast majority of police officers are good, decent, honorable men and women. They risk their lives every day to take care of us. But there are some bad apples. And when they occur, when they find them, they have to be sorted out. They have to be held accountable.
I agree.
They have to be held accountable. And what I'm going to do as President of the United States is call together an entire group of people at the White House, well, everything from the civil rights groups to the police officers to the police chiefs, and we're going to work this out. We're going to work this out so we change the way in which we have more transparency.
Absolutely.
And when these things happen, these cops aren't happy to see what happened to George Floyd. These cops aren't happy to see what happened to Breonna Taylor. Most don't like it.
It's
but
true.
we have
That's
to have
true.
a system where people are held accountable.
That's true.
And by the way, violence in response is never appropriate. Never appropriate. Peaceful protest is. Violence is never appropriate.
That's nice.
What is peaceful protest? When they run through the middle of the town and burn down your stores and kill people all over the place,
that
and you
is
say
not
peaceful
peaceful
protest?
President
No,
Trump,
it's
I'm not
not,
asking-
but you say it is.
President
did not
Trump, I'd
say
like to continue with the
Yes,
issue
go
of
ahead,
race. I
please.
promise we're going to get to the issue of law and order
Please.
in a moment.
Fine.
This month, your administration directed federal agencies to end racial sensitivity training that addresses white privilege or critical race theory. Why did you decide to do that, to end racial sensitivity training? And do you believe that there is systemic racism in this country, sir?
I ended it because it's racist. I ended it because a lot of
Also
people
true.
were complaining that they were asked to do things that were absolutely insane, that it was a radical revolution that was taking place in our military, in our schools, all over the place, and you know it, and so does everybody
what
else.
Is radical,
and he would know.
What is
Oh, it
radical
was totally
about
racist.
racial sensitivity training, sir?
If you were a certain person, you had no status in life. It was sort of a reversal. And if you look at the people, we were paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to teach very bad ideas and frankly very sick ideas. And really, they were teaching people to hate our country.
That's
and I'm
true.
not going to do that. I'm not going to allow that to happen. We have to go back to the core values of this country. They were teaching people that our country is a horrible place, it's a racist place, and they were teaching people to hate our country.
That is
and I'm
true.
not going to allow that to happen.
Vice President Biden?
Nobody's doing that. He's the racist.
You just don't know.
Here's the deal. I know a lot more about
You
this
don't
than he
know.
does.
Let him finish.
The fact is that there is racial insensitivity. People have to be made aware of what other people feel like, what insults them, what is demeaning to them. It's important
All
that
this
people know
soy
they don't
snowflake
want to. Many people don't want to
stuff.
hurt other people's feelings, but it makes a big difference. It makes a gigantic difference in the way a child is able to grow up and have a sense of self-esteem. It's a little bit like how this guy and his friends look down on so many people. They look down their nose on people like Irish Catholics like me and grew up in Scranton. They look down on people who don't have money. They look down on people who are of a different faith. They look down on people who are a different color. In fact, we're all Americans. The only way we're going to bring this country together is bring everybody together. There's nothing we cannot do if we do it together. We can take this on and we can defeat racism in America.
President Trump, sir.
During the Obama-Biden administration, there was tremendous division. There was hatred. You look at Ferguson, you go to many places. Look at Oakland. Look what happened in Oakland. Look what happened in Baltimore. Look what happened. Frankly, it was more violent than what I'm even seeing now.
Oh, my
but
Lord.
the reason
This
is
is
that
ridiculous.
the Democrats that run these
Absolutely
cities
ridiculous.
don't want to talk like you about law and order.
Violent
and you
crime,
still haven't mentioned.
violent
Are you in
crime.
favor of law and order?
I'm in favor of law. You following
Are you in
it, and a little
favor
bit
of law and order? Go
yes,
ahead,
I'm
say
in
it.
favor.
You
Everybody's
asked a
in favor
question,
of
let him finish.
Law
You
and
lose- you
order.
lose his
Law
lefty
and
answer.
order.
Let him answer.
Law and order with justice, where people get treated fairly. And the fact of the matter is, violent crime went down 17%, 15% in our administration.
All right.
It's gone up on his watch.
Went down much more in ours.
All right, we're now.
is president of the
Mr. President,
United
you're going
States
to.
of America.
We were
Mr. President,
breaking every record in the
Mr.
book.
President, you're going to be very happy because
And
we're now going to talk about law and order.
Places we had trouble were Democratic-run cities.
That's exactly my question. There has been a dramatic increase in homicides in America this summer particularly, and you often blame that on Democratic mayors and Democratic governors, but in fact there have been equivalent spikes in Republican-led cities like Tulsa and Fort Worth. So the question is this really a party issue?
I think it's a party issue. You can bring in a couple of examples, but if you look at Chicago, what's going on in Chicago, where 53 people were shot and 8 died, shot. If you look at New York, where it's going up like nobody's ever seen anything, the numbers are going up 100, 150, 200%. Crime. It is crazy what's going on. And he doesn't want to say law and order because he can't, because he'll lose his radical left supporters. And once he does that, it's over with. But if he ever got to run this country and they ran it the way he would want to run it, we would have, our suburbs would be gone. By the way, our suburbs would be gone, and you would see problems like you've never seen.
He would know a suburb unless he took a wrong turn.
Oh, I know suburbs.
He would not.
So much
Go ahead. Wait a minute.
I was raised in the suburbs. This is not 1950. All these dog whistles and racism don't work anymore. Suburbs are by and large integrated. There's many people today driving their kids to soccer practice and or to black and white and Hispanic in the same car as there have been any time in the past. What really is a threat to the suburbs and their safety is his failure to deal with COVID. They're dying in the suburbs. His failure to deal with the environment. They're being flooded. They're being burned out because his refusal to do anything. That's why the suburbs are in trouble.
I do want to talk about this issue of law and order.
I'm in the suburbs. I'm in a city of about 10,000, 11,000 people. The only person who was COVID positive was a guy who was sick anyway before. And it's also very, very hard to say that it was actually COVID that was the problem. He was, for years, he's in and out of the hospital. And to think that COVID was the reason that he was sick again is kind of just maybe yeah, maybe no, no real way to know. So the suburbs are doing just fine.
Order, though, and in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. Yeah. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means...
let me, if I might finish.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, on mnglobal.org, on our website, we do have a page called Sanhedrin Services, and that would be a great substitute for the law and order that we see today. It would be the Messianic Jewish prophetic system of law and order, which is police free with advisors and judges. And if you guys are interested in learning more about that, please visit our website and go on the Sanhedrin Services page, which is basically to bring back the 70 sages, which in the times of the temple, in the times of Jesus, they were the ones who were in charge of the law and order in the time of the temple, and they were the best system of law and order that I think humanity has ever experienced. Napoleon, in his time when he was trying to advance the agendas of democracy for the world, he tried to reestablish the Sanhedrin as part of his liberation of the world from monarchies that were unfair. He tried to reestablish the Sanhedrin. He wasn't able to finish his operation because, as we know, he was exiled and so on. But the concept of the Sanhedrin is a very interesting topic, and you can learn more about it. And I think that would be the best alternative to everything that's happening currently with the whole police brutality and everything else. Anyway, let's see what these people have to say.
Here's the question. What does reimagining policing mean? And do you support the Black Lives Matter call for community control of policing?
Look, what I support is the police having the opportunity to deal with the problems they face. And I'm totally opposed to defunding the police offices. As a matter of fact, local police, the only one defunding it, his budget calls for a $400 million cut in local law enforcement assistance. They need more assistance. They need, when they show up for a 9/11 call, to have someone with them as a psychologist or psychiatrist to keep them from having to use force and be able to talk people down. We have to have community policing like we had before, where the officers get to know the people.
I'm not sure what Biden's deal is.
That's when crime went
what he's
down.
saying sounds good.
It didn't go up, it went down. And so we have to be engaged.
That's not what they're talking about, Chris. That's not what they're talking about. He's talking about defunding the police.
That is not true.
He doesn't have any law support.
Look,
he has no law enforcement
that's not
support.
true.
Almost
that's
nothing.
Look,
Oh, really? Who do you have? Name one group that supports you. Name one group that came out and supported you. Go ahead. Think. We have time.
we don't have time to do anything.
No, think
All right.
about it.
Look,
Name one law enforcement group that came out and
I
supported
think, gentlemen,
you,
I think
Joe.
I'm going to take back the
There aren't.
moderator's
I don't
role,
think there are any.
and I want to get to another subject, which is the issue of protests in many cities that have turned violent. In Portland, Oregon, especially, we had more than 100 straight days of protests, which I think you would agree. You talk about peaceful protests. Many of those turned into riots. Mr. Vice President, you say that people who commit crimes should be held accountable. The question I have, though, is as the Democratic nominee, and earlier tonight you said that you are the Democratic Party right now, have you ever called the Democratic mayor of Portland or the Democratic governor of Oregon and said, hey, you got to stop this, bring in the National Guard, do whatever it takes, but you stop the days and months of violence in Portland?
I don't hold public office now. I am a former vice president. I've made it clear in my public statements that the violence should be prosecuted. It should be prosecuted, and anyone who commits it.
But you've never called for the people, the leader. Excuse me, sir. You had never called for the leaders in Portland and in Oregon to bring in the National Guard and knock off 100 days of riots.
They can, in fact, take care of it if he just stay out of the way. Look here.
Oh, really?
Oh,
really?
Here's the thing.
I sent in the U.S. Marshals to get the killer of the young man in the middle of the street. They shot him, and for 3 days,
President Trump,
Portland wouldn't do anything. I had to send in the U.S. Marshals. They took care of business.
Go ahead, sir.
And by the way,
Obviously, Trump is
his own former
winning at this point.
spokesperson said, riots and chaos and violence help his cause. That's what this is all about.
What?
I do.
Who?
I think Kellyanne Conway.
I don't think she said that.
She said that. And so here's the But here's the point.
What?
The point is
If anything,
that's what he keeps trying to rile everything up.
okay,
He
that's
doesn't want
just
to calm things
conspiracy.
down. Instead
That's
of
just-
going in
that's
and
just-
talking to people and saying, let's get everybody together, figure out how to deal with this. What's he do? He just pours gasoline in the fire constantly,
And-
every single solitary
Okay,
time.
and to button up this segment, I'm going to give you a minute to answer, sir. You have repeatedly criticized.
I have to answer his statement.
No, you have
His
repeatedly.
statement. Wait,
you have
just 1
No,
second.
you've been talking
You
back
made
and
a
forth.
statement.
I'm asking you.
I would love to end it.
sir.
I would love to end it, and
You
we
know, if
would
you want to
very-
switch seats,
We would very quickly.
We could do that, but
I'd send in the National Guard. It would be over. There'd be no problem.
Okay,
But they
good.
don't want to accept the National Guard.
You have repeatedly criticized the vice president for not specifically calling out Antifa and other left-wing
That's right.
extremist groups. But are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups and to say that they need to stand down and not add to the violence in a number of these cities,
Militia
as we saw
is all
in
right,
Kenosha and
but
as we've seen
white
in Portland?
supremacists
Are you
are
I'm willing
prepared
to
to
do that,
specifically
but
do it?
Well,
I
go
would
ahead,
say
sir.
I would say almost everything I see is from the left wing, not from the right wing.
So what are you saying?
I'm willing to do anything. I want to see
Well,
peace.
then do it, sir.
Say it. Do it. Say it.
Do you want to call him? What do you want to call him? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name. Go ahead.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White
Proud Boys.
supremacists and right-wing
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem.
His
This
own
is a left-wing.
FBI director
This
said
is a
the threat
left-wing
of
Go ahead,
problem.
white
Go ahead, sir.
supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you gotta be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what
Oh, really?
his
It's an idea.
His
Okay.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well,
we're
then
gonna-
you know what?
No,
He's
no,
wrong.
we're done, sir. We're moving on to the next. We're
When
moving.
a bat hits you over the head, that's not an idea.
Everybody in
Antifa
your
is bad.
administration tells you the truth has a bad idea.
Can I tell you what?
You have no ideas that are
Antifa is a dangerous,
All right,
radical
gentlemen,
group.
we're now moving on to the Trump
And
and
you ought to be
Biden
careful with
records.
them. They'll overthrow you.
When
in
a
2
president,
seconds.
I'm going to ask a question. When the president seeks a second term, it is generally a referendum on his record. But Vice President Biden, you like to quote one of your dad's sayings, which is, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. And in this case, sir, you are the alternative. Looking law and order, though, and in the joint recommendation that came from the Biden-Bernie Sanders task force, you talked about, quote, reimagining policing. First of all, what does reimagining policing mean, and do you support?
It means.
Let me, if I might finish the question. What does reimagining policing mean, and do you support the Black Lives Matter
way. He sits behind the Resolute desk and sends his ballot to Florida, number one. Number two, we're going to make sure that those people who want to vote in person are.
Okay, we're gonna jump ahead to the end of this because this is way too long for me. So please forgive me for not doing the entire debate. It's just very tiring. Let's see.
There is no.
This is not going to end well.
There is no evidence
this is
of that.
not going to end well.
5 states have had
go ahead,
mail-in
sir.
ballots for the last decade or more. 5, including 2 Republican states. And you don't have to solicit the ballot. It's sent to you. It's sent to your home. What they're saying is that it has to be a postmark by the time, by election day. If it doesn't get in till the 7th, 8th, 9th, it still should be counted. He's just afraid of counting the votes because he knows
wrong.
the outcome.
You're wrong.
I want to continue with you on this,
love
Vice President Biden. Because
Chris, he's so wrong when he makes a statement like that.
Excuse me. Vice President Biden, the biggest problem, in fact, over the years with mail-in voting has not been fraud historically. It has been that sizable numbers, sometimes hundreds of thousands of ballots are thrown out because they have not been properly filled out or there is some other irregularity or they missed the deadline. So the question I have is, are you concerned that the Supreme Court with a Justice Barrett will settle any dispute?
I'm concerned that any court would settle this because here's the deal. When you get a ballot and you fill it out, you're supposed to have an affidavit. If you didn't know, you have someone say that this is me. You should be able to, if in fact you can verify that's you before the ballot is thrown out, that's sufficient to be able to count the ballot because someone made a mistake and not dotting the correct I. Who they voted for, testify, say who they voted for, say it's you, that is totally legitimate.
All right.
Excuse me, Chris, when you have 80 million ballots,
I have a final
sending
question.
and swamping the system, you know it can't be done. You know it can't, and already there's been
so
fraud.
Now, mail service delivers 185 million pieces of mail a day.
In 8 states, we can keep talking. In 8 states, election workers are prohibited, currently by law, 8 states, from even beginning to process ballots, even take them out of the envelopes and flatten them until Election Day. That means that it's likely, because there's going to be a huge increase in mail-in balloting, that we are not going to know on election night who the winner is, that it could be days, it could be weeks.
Could be months.
Until we find out who the new president is. So first for you, sir, finally for the vice president, I hope neither of you will interrupt the other. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm during this extended period, not to engage in any civil unrest? And will you pledge tonight that you will not declare victory until the election has been independently certified? President Trump, you go first.
I'm urging my supporters to go into the polls and watch very carefully, because that's what has to happen. I am urging them to do it. As you know, today there was a big problem. In Philadelphia, they went in to watch. They were called poll watchers, a very safe, very nice thing. They were thrown out. They weren't allowed to watch. You know why? Because bad things happen in Philadelphia, bad things. And I am urging my people. I hope it's going to be a fair election. If it's a fair election, I am 100% on board. But if I see tens of thousands of ballots being manipulated, I can't go along with that. And I'll tell you what.
What does that mean? Does that mean you're going to
anyone should be able to watch?
It means you have a fraudulent election. You're sending out 80 million ballots. They're not equipped to. These people aren't equipped to handle it. Number one. Number two, they cheat. They cheat. Hey, they found ballots in a waste paper basket 3 days ago, and they all had the name military ballots. They were military. They all had the name Trump on them.
Vice President
you think
Biden,
that's good?
Vice President Biden, final question for you. Will you urge your supporters to stay calm while the vote is counted, and will you pledge not to declare victory until the election is independently certified?
Yes, and here's the deal. We count the ballots, as you pointed out. Some of these ballots in some states can't even be opened until Election Day. And if there's thousands of ballots, it's going to take time to do it. And by the way, our military, they've been voting by ballots since the end of the Civil War, in effect. And that's what's going to happen. Why was it not? Why is it for them?
Let me just say that there are people that are dishonest on both sides of the party. I'm sure there's going to be a couple Trump supporters that are going to, double, triple their vote by putting in extra votes or coming up with clever ideas, and I'm sure there are some clever Democrats that are going to do the same. The question is, can we all be civil about it and just be normal people? Every person vote one singular vote, and not try to cheat the system. And if anyone tries to cheat the system, then they should be exposed and prosecuted. It doesn't matter if they're trying to cheat for Trump or against Trump. And anyone that wants to watch the ballots, whether from the left or from the right, should be able to do so. That's just my opinion. Also, my opinion is, and this is something that's not going to be, this is not a question that was asked during the debate, but I think that it's important that third parties should also be basically, you should be able to check that you want, let's say, Jo Jorgensen, and if she doesn't win, then Trump wins. You should be able to do that kind of thing. They have such a law in Australia, and I think that that law would be very, very good, because a lot of people want to see change, but not just from one party to the other, or not just Trump or Biden. There's a lot of other candidates that are very, very capable and commendable, and other people that are maybe not as popular, but other people should have also a say, and it shouldn't just be this two-party system. Anyway, those are my thoughts.
Somehow not fraudulent. It's the same process. It's honest. No one has established at all that there is fraud related to mail-in ballots, that somehow it's a fraudulent process.
It's already been established. Take a look at Carolyn Maloney's race in Manhattan.
You had an opportunity to respond.
Look at Carolyn Maloney.
Go ahead.
They have no idea what
Vice
happened.
President Biden, go ahead.
He has no idea what he's talking about. Here's the deal. The fact is, I will accept it, and he will too. You know why? Because once the winner is declared, after all the ballots are counted, all the votes are counted, that'll be the end of it. That'll be the end of it. And if it's me, in fact, fine. If it's not me, I'll support the outcome. And I'll be a president not just for the Democrats. I'll be a president for Democrats and Republicans. And this guy,
I want to see an honest ballot count.
Gentlemen, you say that's the end of it? This is the end of this debate?
Honest ballot count.
We're going to leave it there. To be continued as in more debates as we go on. President Trump, Vice President Biden, it's been an interesting hour and a half. I want to thank you both for participating in the first of 3 debates that you have agreed to engage in. We want to thank Case Western Reserve University and the Cleveland Clinic for hosting this event. The next debate, sponsored by the Commission on Presidential Debates, will be 1 week from tomorrow, October 7th, at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. The 2 vice presidential nominees, Vice President Mike Pence and Senator Kamala Harris, will debate at 9 p.m. Eastern that night. We hope you watch. Until then,
what about Jo Jorgensen?
And good night. Thank you.
The two-party system. One of the most despised things that exists in America. Nothing to do with freedom. Trump had to smash his way into the Republican Party. Ooh! Look who came to say hello to Donald Trump. It's Melania. That is so nice. Look at Joe dragging his wife. That's funny.
Trump, the greatest president of all time. We love you, Trump.
We love you, Trump. Greatest president of all time. They shut the mics. That's nice. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been crazy. It's a crazy debate. My final thoughts are that both candidates did what they needed to do. I feel that Trump is the more authentic candidate in this situation, the more truthful, more heartfelt, more honorable. He's not perfect, but I think he's definitely better than Joe. I wanted to see Jo Jorgensen. I'm interested to see if she's going to have a chance to debate Trump at all. That would be interesting, because I think a lot of people are thinking about her, and I think that the two-party system is at its end. Not that Trump is, on one hand, if you divide the Trump camp into 2, meaning Jo Jorgensen and Trump, if you divide the right into 2, that might make the left stronger, because the left has given up on almost anyone besides Joe Biden. And I think the same is true for the right. But For some reason, I wish that Joe Jorgensen would kind of join Trump somehow, even though they're a little different, but I think that would be cool. How exactly, I'm not sure. Maybe Joe Jorgensen should debate um, Joe Biden. I'm not sure. I just wish that there would be an option so that you can vote for Joe Jorgensen, and if she doesn't win, then Trump. I wish that would be an option in the United States. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Obviously, as a Jewish person, it's important to pay attention to this stuff, but this is not the ultimate at all. If you want to learn about what the Jewish people think and how the Jewish people think the world should be run, then please check our website, mnglobal.org, mashiachnewsglobal.org, where we pray for the ultimate and complete redemption, and we have a great plan on how to reform the police in a way that the right and the left should agree to with the Sanhedrin services. Again, check that out. We might have a cruise coming up soon, so keep your eyes peeled to learn more about how you can make your life awesome while joining a little cruise and checking out the Caribbeans. I'm not going to say any more, but thank you for joining us. This has been a crazy ride, and I hope my reactions are interesting to you. If you like this video, don't forget to share and like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon and all the rest. Yechia Melech. Yechia Melech, long live the king. Well, the king referring to Mashiach, Messiah, of course, the King of Kings. God Almighty, may He protect this nation, the Bible Belt, and the entire population. May we be safe. The one who makes peace in the heavens shall make peace upon us. God bless.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!